in the intricate mosaic of human experience, where each individual constitutes a universe of unique perceptions. The ability to transcend one's own frame of reference, to temporarily inhabit another's reality, perhaps represents the most sophisticated of social skills. This radical form of empathy, far from being the simple emotional sympathy often proclaimed in superficial manuals, constitutes a complex cognitive and affective process that challenges the very foundations of our subjectivity. Contemporary neuroscience has begun to unravel the biological mysteries of this phenomenon. Functional magnetic resonance imaging studies reveal that when we genuinely strive to understand another's experience, our brain simultaneously activates two seemingly contradictory systems: the default neural network, associated with self-projection, and the mentalization system, linked to understanding others' mental states. This neural dance explains why true empathy requires both the capacity for emotional connection and the rigor of analytical distancing, a paradox that ancient Greek philosophers intuited when they spoke of pathos, shared emotion, and logos, rational understanding. Evolutionary psychology shows us that this ability is not merely a social adornment, but a refined group survival tool developed over millennia. The work of primatologists like Franz de Waal demonstrates that the earliest traces of empathetic behaviors appear even in our closest primate relatives, suggesting that the ability to read and respond to the internal states of other group members provided crucial adaptive advantages. However, in humans, this skill reaches its fullest expression, allowing us not only to react to basic emotions, but also to navigate complex symbolic, cultural, and ideological universes. In the modern organizational context, where diversity has become the norm rather than the exception, this competence goes beyond ethics to become strategic. Research from the Center for Creative Leadership shows that leaders with high empathetic ability outperform their peers by 40% in team effectiveness and conflict resolution metrics. It is not about naive sentimentality, but what organizational theorist Carla McLaren calls operational empathy, the ability to accurately map others' motivational ecosystems to make informed decisions that balance multiple needs. However, the path to an authentic understanding of others is riddled with cognitive obstacles. Our brains, in their quest for energy efficiency, constantly resort to mental shortcuts that distort our perception of others. The egocentric bias makes us project our own experiences as universal. The false consensus effect leads us to overestimate how many share our perspectives, and the illusion of transparency mistakenly convinces us that our internal states are obvious to others. Overcoming these obstacles requires what psychologist William Perry called multiplistic thinking, the ability to hold multiple truths simultaneously without the urgency to reduce them to a single one. Traditional cultures offer deep insights into this process. The South African concept of Ubuntu, I am because we are, the Japanese notion of omoyari, anticipatory consideration for others, or the Native American practice of speaking from the heart in dialogue circles. All these systems of ancestral wisdom recognize that understanding others begins with silencing the self. In a hyper-connected but emotionally fragmented world, these perspectives gain renewed relevance. The development of this capacity does not follow a linear trajectory. Longitudinal studies by Robert Keegan at Harvard University identified distinct stages in cultivating the perspective of others, from reactive empathy in childhood, responding to crying with crying, through cognitive empathy in adolescence, logically understanding other perspectives, to integrative empathy in mature adults, simultaneously holding multiple realities without fragmentation. This last stage, achieved by only about 35% of the adult population according to research, represents the peak of moral and social development. In the field of artificial intelligence and human-machine interaction, this discussion takes on unexpected dimensions. While algorithmic systems learn to simulate certain aspects of empathetic understanding, such as facial emotion recognition or linguistic patterns, they lack that essential element that philosopher Edith Stein called the lived experience of alterity, that qualitative leap that allows us not only to know about the other, but to feel with the other. This fundamental limitation suggests that, in the digital age, genuine empathy may become the last stronghold of the irreducibly human. The practice of putting oneself in another's shoes, literally walking a mile in them, as the Cherokee proverb says, is not an exercise of self-denial, but of conscious expansion. Every time we manage to see the world through someone else's eyes, we do not lose our perspective. On the contrary, we gain a new dimension of reality. On a planet where divisions seem to deepen day by day, this ancient yet always renewed skill reveals itself not as a moral luxury, but as an existential necessity. The strongest bridge over the abysses that separate us and the most solid foundation for building shared futures.